All right, here we go. So this is Mr. Golden, and we are back with our study guide. Okay, that's weird. Okay, let's start this back over. All right, so this is Mr. Golden, and we're back with our study guide for Unit 2. This is Part 3. So with Part 3, we want to start discussing RP2. RP2 is, if you remember, it is unit rate. Now, let's do a very, very quick review. Unit rate is a special type of ratio. So whereas ratio, remember we discussed that ratios always compare one thing or one quantity to another thing or another quantity. Quantity is just a big word for number of things. Okay? So ratios are just comparing one thing to another thing or one quantity to another quantity. So 6 to 5 or 3 to 7, something like that. Now, when we talk about unit rate is very specific. Unit rate is always where the second number is 1. The second number is always 1. So this top is a ratio, and this one is a unit rate. Excuse me. So unit rates compare some number to 1. So remember, this second number has to always be 1. It has to always be 1. That's what unit means, 1. Okay? Now, remember, we can always write ratios in three different ways, and one of the most important ways to write ratio is as a fraction. So you see this 6 to 5? This is 6 over 5. Okay? Now, let's try a very simple question excuse me, for unit rate before we start with the difficult ones. So for unit rate, let's say that I bought a t-shirt, very expensive t-shirt for some expensive store. And it was $40. Okay? $40 for one shirt. Now, if you remember your ratio language, that means that for every $40, I get one shirt. So this would be an example of a unit rate. Now, what if I said I spent $50 on 5 shirts? Now, if I asked you what would be the unit rate, what is the unit rate? Or specifically, since I'm talking about money, what is the unit price for the t-shirts that I'm buying? So I have this $50 to these 5 shirts. So what I want to do is change this ratio into a unit rate where the second number is a 1. So I have to ask myself, well, how do I get from 5 to 1? Well, 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. Excuse me. So whatever I do on the right side, I must do also on the left. So if I come over here, 50 divided by 5 gives me, okay, that was weird. Let's do that back again. 50 divided by 5 gives me $10. Correct. So that means that each shirt, okay, each shirt is $10. And I want you to be aware for these keywords when we're looking for unit rate, unit price. You're going to look for keywords like each. You're going to look for keywords like per. You're going to look for keywords like to. Okay, these are all keywords to let you know that we're discussing a unit rate or a unit price. Okay, now let's talk about one that is difficult. Now we've talked about this example in class, so I want you to see if you can remember this example. Let's say that Mr. Golden is in the kitchen and he is making some pancakes, and Mr. Golden needs 2 cups of flour. I'm not even sure if you make pancakes with flour. I'm not sure. Let's just say 2 cups flour for 7 pancakes. Now, I'm not sure if the proportions for pancakes, the flour is actually correct. So this is just a made up problem, so just imagine with me. So I have 2 cups of flour for 7 pancakes. Now, if I want to figure out how many cups I need for 1 pancake, the process is still the same. The process is still, how do I get from 7 to 1? Using multiplication or division, how do I get from 7 to 1? Well, let's divide by 7. So whatever I do on the right, I do the same exact thing on the left because I want to keep this proportional. I want to keep the measurements consistent. So I divide by 7 on this side. And you say, well, Mr. Golden, there's no possible way you can do 2 divided by 7. It's impossible. Well, it's not impossible. What you want to do is write this as a fraction 2 divided by 7. This is a division sign, by the way. 2 divided by 7 is 2 over 7. So 2 divided by 7 gives me 2 over 7.